Introducing the all-new Italiano range of pizza. Pizza Ultimo. Pizza Hut.
President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, Upul Jayasuriya, addressed a gathering at the Sri Lanka Press Institute recently on the role of the media in creating judicial independence in the country.
It is unfortunate that there is segregation between the private media, which is independent on the dependency of the ownership and its financial stability, and a totally biased state media which blatantly flout the rules of defamation and the contempt of court in obeying the instructions and the dictates of those who are in the seats of political power. We have the private media that is made to march to the guillotine at the pleasure of the powers that be. Journalists are paid too little to die for the cause that you have dedicated your lives. May it be a one-way journey in the white van and dropped off on the banks of Devanna, or to be speared at a lonely place near a camp on your way to your place of work, or to be brutally assaulted under your own roof. These are the ramifications and the price you have to be prepared to pay in your quest for truth and justice on matters that concern very little to you and your family. If we lose our struggle for professional integrity, if we cannot defend our right to practice our profession with dignity and independence on the basis of the highest principles on which the professions are founded, then every person who seeks justice will be at risk.
Speaking further, Attorney-at-Law Upul Jayasuriya said that one cannot let the expectations of the media and that of the legal fraternity to be disgraced.
We must not let the great expectations of the media and that of the legal fraternity to succumb to compromise, submission and finally utter disgrace. Unfortunately, we are gradually drifting towards the point of no return. Do we realize it? I don't think so. We don't react until we drop dead. It is not my problem, but his. The integrity and independence of legal systems and judicial institutions and the very law itself cannot be of concern to only journalists, lawyers and judges in our country. Rather, it is of paramount concern to each and every one of us in the civilized world who have some regard and respect for rule of law, freedom of expression and other fundamental rights. Let us forget what we did not do. Let us think of what we can do to the generations of tomorrow.
The Matale Magistrates Court ordered the Criminal Investigations Department today to conduct investigations into the mass grave discovered in Matale. Matale Magistrate Chaturika De Silva issued this order after taking into consideration the 11 affidavits that were submitted on the 8th of this month by the relatives of missing persons believed to have been buried in the mass grave.
Court also ordered the CID to record statements from relatives regarding the affidavits on the 14th of this month. A team including Attorney-at-Law Sunil Watagala appeared before court representing relatives of persons who were either murdered or reported missing between 1988 and 1989. The mass grave was discovered on the 26th of November last year when an excavation was undertaken to build a biogas unit at the Matale General Hospital. 155 bones, metal rings, coins and charcoal were among the items found in the mass grave in Matale. Court will reconvene on the 31st of May.
Up next is Action TV.
The operation to capture wild elephants, which are encroaching on 4 settlements in the Ampara district, have been suspended. It has been understood that an electric fence constructed across an elephant pass between the Galloya and Buddangala reserves for the protection of the Datakirula exhibition grounds is the cause for these elephants to encroach on the human settlements. However, instead of removing the fence, the Department of Wildlife initiated an operation to capture elephants on the 28th of April. In the 4 days since the 28th of April, one elephant was captured. In addition, a section of the Kanyami jungle in the Batiklo district bordering the 4 settlements in Ampara was cleared. When the Minister of Wildlife Conservation visited Ampara on Sunday, some interesting factors pertaining to this deforestation came to light. Recently on Action TV, the removal of shrubbery from a plot of land was highlighted, and I saw that they referred to it to the attention to the Minister of Wildlife Conservation. The subject of forest conservation does not come under me. Only the subject of wildlife comes under my purview. It is a private land. We got to know later that it was a private land. At that time, we had no solution but to clear it. The Honourable Minister visited this area personally. The intention was only to destroy locations where elephants may hide. At this instance, the people who are affected by the threat of wild elephant incursions pointed out to the Minister that clearing jungles is not a solution to this problem. There are 3 elephants which have been categorized as extremely dangerous, and it is these 3 animals that have become a threat to us. We will fulfill your request. We have to be careful when relocating these 2 dangerous elephants. Civil Defence Force personnel from our department and the army have been deployed. As per the request made by the MP, the Mayor and the Minister, we have commenced a program to have guard posts at 42 locations to protect the villagers from wild elephants. You're watching news. First up next is the newspaper cartoon of the day.
The main stadium in the Over province, the Vincent Dias Stadium in Badulla, plagued by a garbage problem. Sportsmen and women who use the stadium and the area residents severely inconvenienced by the landfill adjacent to the stadium. 20 days since News First reported on the issue. There appears to be no sense of urgency by the Badulla Municipal Council to resolve the problem. When will the landfill be removed from the location?
Campaigning has ended in Pakistan's general elections with Nawaz Sharif, a former Prime Minister, and Imran Khan, the cricketer turned politician, addressing rallies on the final day. Tomorrow's vote is being viewed as a dramatic milestone in a country ruled for half of its century by the military, but campaigning has been marred by violent attacks by the Taliban that has left more than 100 people dead since April.
Pakistan is preparing for its historic general election on the 11th of May, marking the first democratic transition of power in the country's 66-year existence. Tens of thousands of security forces have been deployed throughout the country, including in places where the Taliban have vowed to launch a series of suicide attacks. Pakistan's Taliban said they would carry out suicide bombings during Saturday's election in a bid to undermine the poll. After 3 turbulent weeks, Pakistan's election campaign came to an end at midnight yesterday, with rallies by all political parties drawing to a close. The polls, already Pakistan's most violent, will mark the first time a civilian government has completed a full term and handed over to another administration. It will be the 11th general election for Pakistan since 1962. Meanwhile, the Pakistani High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, retired Major General Kazim Qureshi, expressed these views on tomorrow's elections.
The judiciary is ensuring that nobody breaches the rule of law, and of course we have a very vibrant and free media which is overseeing the entire process. So all these 4 major state institutions are ensuring that elections are both free and fair. All these parties are really targeting these new voters to come out and vote, and it seems to us that they are mobilized to come.
Member states of the European Union marked Europe Day yesterday. Europe Day was formally recognized by the European Parliament in 2008. News First Zulfiq Farzan reports.
The European Union traces its roots to the European Coal and Steel Community and the European Economic Community, which were formed by 6 countries in 1958. Since then, the EU members have been growing in number. There are 27 sovereign member states in the European Union. Europe Day is also known as Schuman Day, where Europe commemorates the declaration by French Foreign Minister Robert Schuman on the 9th of May 1950, calling for a new form of organization of states in Europe. I caught up with the outgoing head of the EU delegation in Sri Lanka, Bernard Savage, for a brief on the EU's operations and its stance on Sri Lanka.
The relationship between the European Union and go back centuries. It's a long-term relationship. It's a relationship which has endured up until now and will endure in the future. There are many links between Sri Lanka and Europe, the continent of Europe, as well as its political institutions and member states. There are at times there are disagreements, but that's normal in any relationship, particularly a long-term relationship. As far as South Asia is concerned, that there is an extremely bright future for South Asia. It's a dynamic part of the world economy, and more importantly, the economic growth that's being generated in those countries is perhaps not at the rate that everyone wants to see, but is lifting people out of poverty.
Sri Jawahardanapura University emerged as champions in the women's table tennis team event at the 11th Sri Lanka University Games, while the University of Peradeniya won the women's hockey title.
The finals of the women's table tennis event was held at the indoor stadium of the University of Mortua. The Sri Jawahardanapura University women's team beat the University of Colombo 3-1 to win the championship. The University of Kelaniya got the better of the University of Peradeniya to win third place. Meanwhile, the University of Peradeniya beat the University of Colombo 1-0 to win the women's hockey title. The University of Mortua defeated the University of Jaffna 2-0 to win the men's hockey title.
Sri Lanka Cricket has decided to postpone the home test series against South Africa that was scheduled for July.
Acting CEO of SLC, Ashley De Silva, said that the test series against South Africa will be postponed to 2015. However, he added that the 5-match ODI series and the 3 T20 internationals will be played in July. Sri Lanka Cricket also released the fixtures of the ODI and T20 series against South Africa. Incidentally, the schedule of warm-up matches for the upcoming ICC Champions Trophy in England was released today. Sri Lanka will play its first warm-up game against Pakistan on the 30th of May at Edgbaston. Also, issuing a communique, Sri Lanka Cricket announced that the women's cricketers were offered national team contracts for the first time. 34 women cricketers were chosen from 4 categories. Meanwhile, the Sri Lankan squad named for the triangular practice series ahead of the Champions Trophy engaged in training sessions today. 3 players from the North and East will also feature in the triangular series in Kandy. S. Silojan is included in the Sri Lanka team, while S. Sanjeevan will play for Sri Lanka A, and Rishan Tudor is set to feature for the Sri Lanka combined team.
Dharmaraja College clinched a 36-24 win against Wesley College, Colombo in an inter-school Division A rugby encounter. The match was played off at the CRNFC grounds in Colombo. Dharmaraja College took control of the game in the first half by scoring 17 points, while Wesley College managed only 5 points. In a hard-fought second half, both teams were able to add 19 points each.
Skydivers Belgian Cedric Dumont and Colombian Jonathan Flores became the first men to jump 8,858 feet from an airplane over Peru's Nazca lines.
The 2 men wore wingsuits during the flight, lasting more than 2 minutes, reaching speeds of 118 miles per hour over the site of Peru's Nazca lines.
We leave you tonight with this daredevil footage.
Good night and have a pleasant weekend ahead.